Okay, well then.
I'll wait on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wanna go?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our March meeting to order. And welcome everyone here, and we can have introduction starting at this end.
Okay, Teresa Cummings, Executive Director. Welcome, everybody.
Jim Halverson, board member.
Brooke Nasseri, Board Member.
Robbie McInerney, board member.
Sure.
Joe Walden, board member.
Crystal Hart Johnson, board member, and over
Rochelle Dupree, Program Liaison.
Jennifer Clark, Finance Administrator.
Terry McDee, Data Administrator.
Terry Trafton with iBoswell, your board consultant.
My name's Chad Bias. I'm the Executive Director of the Mid-America Crisis Intervention Team.
Samantha, the Communication Specialist.
Matthew Moore with the Resource Development Institute.
Terry Chung, Author from Resource Development Institute.
Okay.
And Gino Serra, legal counsel.
Chris Beal, board member.
Eve McGee, board member.
Marcia Campbell, board member. Hi, Robbie.
Hi.
All right, thank you. And again, welcome. Next on our agenda, we have consideration of our minutes from our February meeting, February 26th meeting. They were sent out in our packet. I'll take a motion.
So move for the motion to approve the minutes.
Jim Walden, second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second for consideration of the minutes as submitted. Are there any questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Board chair comments. I would just, I only have one thing to comment on, and that is that, Crystal Johnson has asked to be on the finance, the appropriations and DBP committee, and that is approved. She'll be added to those committees. Okay. Our staff report.
Yeah, you all have an updated committee roster in your packet as well to reflect Crystal's appointment, I guess, to the committee. So I have a few highlights. One being with our strategic plan, one of the components of the strategic plan is our efforts in advocacy and increasing the awareness of the mental health fund. And so next month, Samantha is going to give a presentation about those efforts and give you some highlights as far as our website activity and letters that we've written and how we're doing in that area. We haven't really in the past had a concentrated effort in advocacy. And so I'm happy that it's on our strategic plan and that we have a staff member now that enjoys doing that and has done it in the past. So I think you all will be very pleased to see how all of that is evolving and improving. The next item, just wanted to update you all. We are engaged as staff with an executive and team coach, which is going really well. We've been spending a lot of time with her weekly. I've got time with her weekly, separate from what we're doing as a team. And so I think, and staff could speak for themselves, but it's a lot of work, but it's good work. And we're very grateful to have that. And Terry Trafton is here. He's going to be working with you all as far as governance coaching for the board. More to come on that. The Behavioral Health Training Hub Cooperative. So this is an effort that we have engaged with other funders, the Reach Foundation, the Children's Services Fund, Health Forward Foundation, the Wyandotte Health Foundation, and us to explore the opportunity for a behavioral health training hub that would serve the region. So you all in the past had funded a feasibility study. And now we're in the kind of business planning phase of that. So that is continuing to move forward. We should have a report on that business plan in May. And from that, then the board can make a decision as far as ongoing commitments for that training hub. The idea is that it would be a hub where all agencies in the region that provide behavioral health care could go to get training. And then also, if there are any gaps in training that are necessary, then this hub could also develop training. And the effort came out of the desire to address workforce issues, primarily retention of staff. But I think a subset of this is also going to include the recruitment of staff. The consultant Third Horizon that we have engaged to do the business planning are having conversations with all of the other funders to see kind of what their priorities are and how much of a commitment they would be willing to make to help launch this effort as well. So it's been 3 years in the making, and it's exciting to see something like this come to fruition. The last item I have is the community grants launch. So we are on target, and I'm going to ask Samantha to talk about that because we are getting ready to release the announcements for the community grants. Taryn, can you bring that up, please?
Yes. Just gonna stand here where I can see it.
While she's looking for that. So we've had to, come up with basically a marketing campaign for this and then redo our website so that people can find us and find instructions. So Samantha has been working really hard on all of that.
The keyboard's messed up. There we go.
There we go.
On page first.
So, yeah. So Samantha, take it away.
Okay, so this isn't live yet, but it will be tomorrow at noon. And eventually our whole website will have this new look. The designer is so clever. If you notice the green pattern at the top, he incorporated the leaf from our logo in it. Obviously our colors, we've got color, we've got cohesiveness. If you scroll down a little bit, this is a new homepage that talks about funding, which is our core mission, and announcing new community grants. We've got the new grants first, then our fee for service grants and value-based payments. Now, none of these links work right now because this is not live, but if you were to go on the website tomorrow, the logo up in the top corner will take you back to this page. Which is home. And then we have a second new page, which is the community grants page. And we will have there's that yellow banner up at the top announcing this. This is all new to everyone. So we're announcing that you can register your agency now, and that message will change April 6th to give everyone a sense of urgency and tell them that we're accepting applications. Our tentative cutoff date right now is May 1st. Obviously that could change. But if you scroll down a little bit, we've got announcing new community grants. We've got the 4 areas of social determinants that these grants apply to. It's clean, it's easy to read. We've got subheads and bullets to help you read through this and catch the high points if you only have a minute or two, which is what good web page should do. If you scroll down a little bit further, who's eligible for funding. We've got the highlights and you say, but wait. I need to
Excuse
know-
me, is there any way this can be shared on the screen?
Thanks for
Oh,
letting us
We
know.
can't see it.
I'm
One
so
second,
sorry.
guys.
You will be able to see it tomorrow and I'm sorry that you can't see it right now.
There you go.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, super good.
We are going to have a Zoom meeting to give people an opportunity. People with agencies who might be interested in this and would like to know more information. We're going to take their registrations both online and through an email that will also go out Monday. With this same look and feel so they know when they receive the email and they come to the website, they're in the right place. The start your registration button on the right does work right now, and that takes you to our new partnership
Exchange portal.
exchange portal. I can remember the acronym, but if you want to click on that, it works.
Yeah, that's our grants management system. Yep.
Ta-da! So you can register your agency beginning tomorrow. And then April 6th, excuse me, you'll be able to submit your application, and that's when that yellow banner that's on the website will also change with the temporary notice that you can apply through May 1st. Does anybody have any questions?
So once grants accepted or applications accepted, do they receive something back that says, yes, it's been received?
Yes, they
Acknowledgement.
And that's included in this text here. You receive a notification, you also receive an email. And then we've got a rough timeline. We don't have specific dates here, but to give them a reasonable expectation of when we'll complete this process.
Yeah, so the goal is that the board would then do their reviews in the month of June. And that we would be able to make funding funding decisions at the June board meeting. And then, which typically we don't have a big meeting in June, but we'll have to, or no, maybe it's July, August, take that back. Nonetheless, decisions made in June with contracts to start July 1. And Patty Robertson, our other program liaison, who's on maternity leave right now, she's coming back part-time starting April the 7th. And so she's really helped develop this. So she will be back to take questions about this from the public and also be developing the board training for the scoring. So we have been busy around here getting this done, and thank you. Rochelle's been very helpful with helping develop the system in our grants management system, and Samantha has taken on the lead with getting our website and marketing all ready to go. And then Patty will be back to take over from there.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair, on strategic reporting.
Yeah, there's the homepage again for those of you on the Zoom call.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Education Committee, Dr. Kirby.
Hello. Well, the Education Committee met with chair and co-chair, met with Teresa and Terry Trafton, the board consultant from Boswell, yesterday, and we had a very productive meeting. Let me see if I can pull up his summary, just a moment. Okay, here we go. We focused on planning the high impact boards assessment and training. You should be receiving a doodle poll to schedule that sometime in May. It'll be a 3-hour board session, either from 1 to 4 p.m. or from 3 to 6. In either case, we'll serve you either lunch or dinner. And that will be to cover the high impacts board survey, which includes mission, strategy alignment, fairness and inclusion, board effectiveness, recruitment and development, community ambassadors, board staff partnerships, and other questions which we are refining right now. And so I think it's going to be a very productive relationship, as we wanted it to be, with the board consultant. There's a lot of really positive and productive training that's coming that's going to put us in alignment with other boards of our size and in our positions. So I hope you all will make your schedules as flexible as possible so that you can participate and get as much out of that as possible. And when you receive the assessments, please fill them out as fully and thoughtfully as you can. And yeah, so that will help to educate each one of us, depending on whether we're new to serving on boards or if we've been serving on boards for decades. Sometimes it's good to get a refresher or to see if what we think we know is accurate or not. One of the things that we'll be doing is looking at our bylaws, the statute that defines us, as well as our charter, and looking at all of those documents to see where there is alignment or where there are opportunities for us to make any additions or changes or to adapt it now, since it's been a long time since those documents have been looked at and a lot of you are new to the board. So it'll be an opportunity for you to familiarize yourself with our governing documents and just to kind of get a refresher on what our lane is and how we can stay in it and work to the top of our ability in our role. So, does anybody who was at the meeting yesterday want to add anything to what I said? Did I leave anything out? Teresa?
Kirby, if I may.
Yes, please.
So the entire board will get a survey link around April the 6th. You will have about 2 weeks to fill that survey out. And then the Education and Planning Committee will meet around the week of April 27th to review those initial results. So those of you on the Education Committee should have gotten a doodle poll today about that meeting. And then the meeting that Kirby just referenced is going to be a full board training that will happen in May. That doodle poll will come out on Monday. We didn't want to confuse you all with having 2 doodle polls coming out in one day. So those of you on Education and Planning will get one today. The full board will get one on Monday. So I just wanted to make that clear. So thank you.
And thank you. Anything else? Anybody else?
Kirby, we do have RDI here to do the
Yeah,
present-
so yeah, I just wanted to thank them for coming. We've been looking forward to hearing their presentation.
Karen, do you have their presentation?
Share my screen first before we get into the. It's like a scheduling, like everyone gets. I take a whole email to them and you put it in. There's availability is, and then automatically. Yeah, says. What I can look wants to be able to. Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know what you were saying. Okay.
Sorry.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here today and inviting us to share the Mid-America Crisis Intervention Team Jackson County Training 2024 annual report work.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine. So this is our agenda for today. We'll start with a brief introduction of the reporting team, followed by the purpose of the evaluation. Next, we will cover an overview of the CIT trainings, followed by the analysis of CIT incident reports. And then we will conclude with the main takeaways from the report. Just a brief introduction. My name again is Cherry Chung Osler, and this is Dr. Matthew Moore. We are from Resource Development Institute, and we prepared the report for Community Mental Health Fund.
And then we have a CIT officer
We
here.
do have a CIT officer.
You wanna
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
I can stand. My name is Detective Chad Byatt. I work for the Jackson County Sheriff's Office as our CIT program coordinator. And in that role, I also work with Mackett as the executive director and co-chair of the board of directors.
And hi, I'm Shannon Moss. I'm the Director of Crisis Services with Rediscover. And so Sally Boone, who is a part of this, she is a part of my crisis service offering team. So I'm here to represent Rediscover.
All right. So RDI assessed the effectiveness of CIT training in these four main goals. So we had we looked at the reduction of unnecessary arrests, reduction of injuries to both consumers and officers, diversion of consumers from the criminal justice system and emergency departments to community behavioral health centers, and improvement of access to treatment resources and other services. So in 2024, RDI evaluated 11 training sessions totaling 386 training hours, reaching 321 participants. These included the standard 40-hour CIT basic training session for officers and intern officers, and they reached 229 participants, and as well as specialized trainings for corrections, veterans, and youth. And Mackett also provided a Gear Up for Mental Health session for non-law enforcement personnel. And for last year, 2024, we had staff from Kansas City Municipal Court, the Jackson County Public Administrator's Office, firefighters, and public safety officers from local hospitals.
That did the Gear Up
Yes.
sessions? Wow.
Yes, thank you. So these are the key findings from the CIT training. Overall feedback from the 321 participants were extremely positive. 98% reported satisfaction, 92% were very motivated to apply what they learned, and then 100% felt that the training was relevant to their jobs. Participants also reported an increase in confidence when working with consumers experiencing mental health crisis. And then the instructor evaluations from the participants further supported the quality and consistency of the training content. In addition, the results from the diagnostic pre and post survey from the training showed meaningful impact on participant attitudes, including a reduced stigma and improved perceptions of mental health and related services, which is important as stigma and discrimination towards individuals with mental health illness can create barriers accessing appropriate health care and lead to negative treatment. The final analysis was based on a total of 6,416 CIT incident reports that were submitted by 8 participating agencies. And those 8 are Blue Springs, Green Valley, Grandview, Independence, Kansas City, Missouri, Lee Summit, Oak Grove, and Sugar Creek. Kansas City as a whole submitted the most reports in 2022. They submitted over 3,000 reports, and Sugar Creek had the fewest at 39.
That's still a lot of reports for
That
a
is
small
agency, yeah.
Yeah, small township, I guess.
Okay, so when looking at who CIT is serving, the average consumer was a 35-year-old white male, though officers did interact with individuals ranging from ages 4 to 92. Some key demographics to note: juveniles represented 17% of the reported consumers. Individuals experiencing homelessness accounted for 16% of all calls, and consumers currently serving or formerly in the military, U.S. military, accounted for 5% of all calls. CIT trained officers responded to 64% of reported. All jurisdictions included a dispatch reason in their report, which is typically mentioned in the first line of their narrative. And the most common reason for dispatch was disturbance or suspicious persons. And that was 30% of calls. And notably within this category, 13% involved individuals reporting suicidal ideations on the scene. Which is important because suicidal concerns were the second most frequent dispatch at 27% of cases. And overall individuals were described as suicidal on scene at 60% of all calls. These findings just really highlight how important it is for officers to receive CIT trainings so they can respond appropriately and figure out the next best course of action for the consumer. Oh, sorry. I got one more. Sorry. And then regarding dispatch locations, this is also found in the first line of the narrative. Majority of calls occurred at private residences, which reflect where people are most likely to experience mental health crisis, which was 66% of all calls.
Good enough.
Yeah, thank you. So now we'll look at the first key area of the evaluation, which is reducing criminalization of mental health. The data showed that CIT officers were 35% less likely to take formal action compared to non-CIT trained officers. The likelihood of formal action increased for consumers with substance use disorders by 89% and 54% for those deemed intoxicated. Veterans were less likely to be arrested than civilian consumers. So each report was coded based on the level of consumer suicide concern using a scale of 0 to 10, 0 with no indication of suicide concern, with 10 being a suicide attempt. And then levels of consumer threat to others, also using a scale of 0 to 4, which is 0 is the no indication and 4 is that they did try to assault somebody. So as the consumer's level of threat to self and threat to others increased, there was a more likely chance or odds for the to take the officers to take formal action, and this is partly explained due to the fact that officers do have a legal obligation for involuntary civil detention. And then more specifically, each step on the threat to self scale increased odds by 57%, and each step on the threat to others scale increased odds by 27%.
So a formal action would be like them taken into custody?
Taken into custody, and then also a mental health, about like being admitted for a mental health evaluation.
Okay. So the higher severity, the higher the likelihood that they would need, quote, a formal interaction.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Regarding safety, there was some evidence linking CIT training and fewer injuries, but the findings were not strong enough to establish like a causal link between the two. But that said, likelihood of consumer injury was lower when the responding officer was CIT trained. The overall use of force did remain rare, occurring in only 3% of calls, with consumer injury due to force documented in less than 1% of calls. And each report was also coded based on the level of consumer behavior towards police using a scale of 0 to 4, 0 again having no indication, and 4 being with a lethal attack towards the police officer. And so use of force was almost entirely driven by the escalation in the consumer behavior. So officers were 48 times more likely to use force in these situations, and as consumers' threat to self increased, the probability for use of force also rose by 17%. A key goal of CIT programs is to divert individuals from jail to community-based treatments. However, our findings showed that law enforcement use of community behavioral health centers, or CBHCs, was not well predicted by the variables that we examined, suggesting that other factors were influencing these decisions. We also found no significant difference in CBHC use between CIT trained and non-CIT trained officers. indicating that CIT training alone does not indicate referrals or increase referrals to these centers. That said, CIT officers were less likely to hospitalize individuals, and this still shows that training still impacts outcomes by reducing more intensive interventions. Overall, about 61% of calls ended in a mental health admission, with Research Medical Center and University Health being the top 2 utilized. Additionally, juveniles were 3.1% more likely to be admitted for a mental health evaluation than an adult.
Oh, wow.
Good question. So what's missing, obviously, for me personally, that I'm missing is I don't see KU.
Okay, so
Particular reason that they didn't show up in the list.
yeah,
Well, they do, this is just the top 10, but most importantly, for an involuntary admission, officers can't take them to KU because they can't cross the state line.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. And
no, that's a great question.
Connected.
When we were looking at the data for 2025,
Right.
there's a handful of KU ones, and they're all people who said, we're gonna take ourselves to the hospital and we wanna go to KU.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry.
No, that's a good
Light bulb
question.
just went on.
Well, having worked in the mental health system in Kansas, KU really diverts a large majority. Because I know when I worked at Johnson County Mental Health, they were extraordinarily difficult in terms of really not accepting. They were absolutely, I mean, we had a lot of involuntary that we were doing screenings for, and I can't think of hardly any that were actually at KU. So it's not just a state line issue.
And then our final key area, we focused on access to treatment resources and other services. This included outcomes such as the consumer being admitted to an emergency room or a mental health facility, given any type of mental health information, referral, informal, formal, and even being evaluated on scene. Overall, officers offered consumers some sort of mental health resource on 77% of all calls, which highlights a really strong level of engagement. Notably, CIT officers were more likely to connect consumers with mental health services and resolve calls on scene. When incidents were resolved on scene, certain factors like the likelihood that the services were offered increased, which is good because also we want to resolve calls on scene because of the least disruptive to the consumer and family. So for example, individuals at private residences were 9.4% more likely to receive services, and those experiencing suicide concerns were 21% more likely to be offered services. Additionally, as level of perceived threat to self or others increased, so did the probability of being offered additional support services. We also noted when there were other outcomes occurring at the same time. Among the 612 individuals arrested, 73% were offered access to behavioral health services. And of the 4,915 individuals admitted for a mental health evaluation, 78% received further behavioral health services. And overall, these findings really just suggest that officers, especially those trained in CIT, play a critical role in connecting individuals to needed care. And to conclude, these were our 5 main takeaways from the report. So the first one is CIT officers were less likely to take formal action and to offer more services to access to mental health services. However, disparities persisted across race, gender, housing status, and other sociodemographic factors. Number 2, despite the availability of 988 mobile crisis services, many continued to rely on 911, which reinforces the importance of continued CIT training. Number 3, the 2024 evaluation found that CIT was highly effective in improving how officers responded to individuals experiencing mental health crises. And officers who completed CIT trainings were more successful at resolving calls on scene while connecting consumers to mental health services, reducing injuries, and reducing unnecessary arrests. And then finally, overall, CIT training helped officers respond more effectively and compassionately when dealing with consumers in mental health crises. Thank you.
Question, so when you talk about these CIT incidents, like what makes you categorize it as a CIT incident as opposed to a non-CIT thing?
So we receive specific CIT reports from the jurisdiction, so we don't, is that right? Like, we don't classify, I'm answering your question correctly, like, we don't classify them as a CIT incident report.
Okay, I see, so, and they're not just like 988 calls, like they could be 911, okay,
There's hardly any calls in our data.
I see.
The 988 will filter through its own call center, your ComCare. The 911 calls will go to the PDs themselves. The officers go out to meet with individuals that have called 911 and they deem it to be a CIT report worthy situation. They're required to then complete the CIT report. That is also a training component too, though. Each PD has different standards and stipulations around the completion of those reports, which adds to some of the variance in the volume that we might receive from any single PD.
Yeah, and then I did notice, like in 2025, we have, or the way that the officers are reporting, they are actually now including like, oh, the consumer called 988 first, and then we were dispatched. Then now we can actually gather those data, whereas before they weren't really mentioning it in their narrative. And so there was no way for us to distinguish if it was a 988 call or not.
And I don't know if this is anywhere in your 2025 data or not, but one other thing that we're doing is there is now an existing partnership between PDs and 988. So for instance, KCMO can actually divert calls from 911 to 988. And they have just actually inked a deal to put in a crisis clinician within the call center for KCMO. So that's up and coming as well. That's something that we've seen, especially within Eastern Jack, is there is a partnership for after those standard business hours when there might not be a co-responder available in these cities. They'll also call 988 police will to have a mental health clinician meet them on scene. So there is some 988 utilization by PDs themselves to partner with a 988 clinician when a co-response isn't available.
A question, how are officers selected for training? Is this something that's required for everybody? Volunteers, people who just came on board?
So that might be a question best answered by me. It depends on several things. A lot of police academies now have implemented CIT training, the basic 40-hour, into their curriculum. A lot of recruits coming out of, say, Blue River Community College are coming out with that basic 40-hour already. However, for those officers who are already officers and haven't gotten that training, it's mainly agency based. You know, some officers find they're interested in CIT and want to attend the training, or they elect to take the advanced trainings if they're more interested. But as far as I know, I don't know of any agency-wide like mandates for CIT training in our area.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Detective?
Yes.
Is there any kind of carrot?
I'm sorry.
It's for an officer?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes and no. Being CIT trained gives you a lot of confidence, like we saw in this report that RDI gave. So there's a lot of that kind of, the benefit comes from when you get this training and then you go out on a difficult call for service that before you had this training, you might have encountered somebody in crisis and been like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. But once you have this training, you have so much more confidence, and I can speak from personal experience on that, of knowing exactly what to do and where to send them and how to do it. So that's a lot of the benefit. As far as agency, like benefit directly from the agency goes, there's not really anything that I know.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody online have any questions? No? All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Kirby, do you have anything else?
No, ma'am, that concludes my the education committee report.
Thank you. Thank you. Appropriations, Marcia?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there's one thing from De La Salle. Can Rochelle give that?
Yes.
Rochelle?
And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but, they are requesting a budget modification. For a total of $62,610. And I know I had some questions, Ms. Hart Johnson. So De La Salle had been in pilot, for 4 years, and pilot was helping them build a foundation, identify the services that they were gonna be able to, perform there at the school. And so within that last year, we really focused on how they were gonna have their documentation done, how they were gonna be able to show us the work that they were doing, how they were setting up policy and procedure on how people would do documents, complete their documentation. So that's why one of her questions was, she see that they're emerging. That's why they're emerging, because the last year of them being in pilot, that's what we really focused on. They started in May 2025 of being in the network. And so I went and met with them on March 3rd and reviewed a lot of their January through up to March 3rd and seeing the type of work that they were doing. So I know that the ask that they're asking for, we walked through the ask, that it's pretty on point. De La Salle gets students all through the year. They're not like a regular school that just gets it at the beginning of the year. They can get it all through. But they also are adding so many more ways in which to reach kids, sometimes in the community that don't come to the school, or they're bringing up a lot of hands-on learning programs. And so they're getting more kids into the school. And a lot of those kids are kids that maybe have been out of school, don't have a lot of parental support. And so they are just doing a lot of case management and case support for a lot of those kids. So yeah, we went ahead and looked, and it's providing for new clients, and it's providing for existing clients, just because the need is there. And once you're in the school, once the students start seeing that really works and it helps, you'll start getting more students saying, okay, now I do want to talk to you. So that's another thing that they've really been seeing, but they are really starting to really expand there. The CEO, Sean Salling, wants to make De La Salle a hub for that area, and kids, families, everything. And he's really moving forward in that. So I could see them growing in the need of who they're going to be serving in that area, because he's really working to try
Well,
to
and
get back.
yeah, Rochelle, and when they were on that pilot status, they were having some issues with their state sponsor and that kind of stuff, and we didn't know exactly where they would be going at any given time. And then when they finally got that settled, when they got their sponsorship settled, they started going full tilt boogie. And so we had told them to let us know what was going on. We knew that we were probably a bit low on what we were, their level. And
That's
we
their first
may still
time.
have adjustments to be made, but
Yeah,
this is not out of line.
And they had 4 years in the pilot, because the first year they had a director that was there and she left. So it was really kind of starting over, because she left with everything she did.
Okay, Marcia, do you have a
Yeah.
motion?
Yes, so moved. And I don't know what the amount is. I can't see this. There's nothing on the screen.
$62,610.
Yes, so moved.
Okay. I'll second the motion. It's been properly moved and seconded for a budget amendment adjustment increase for De La Salle in the amount of $62,610. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, motion carried.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear who,
Marcia motion, Crystal second.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That ends my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Marcia. Finance Committee and Teresa, you're doing
Yeah,
this
I will
report.
fill in for Dr. Lisbon. A really short finance committee report this month. Get ready for next month. There's a lot of activity in March. So we just have our routine administrative expenses at $30,605.55. And then we have provider initiatives, Metro Council, that's the sponsorship for the upcoming conference in May. And our payments to Integris totaling a subtotal of $23,868.18 for a grand total of $54,473.73.
Thank you. Do I have a motion from the board?
Involved in the move that we accept the total of 54,473.73.
I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded to ratify the expenditures for February in the total amount of $54,473.73. Is there any discussion? Question? Okay, there being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Expenses are ratified.
Okay, we had no agency payments in February. You will see a lot of activity in March because we made all agency payments in March. And so I sent you all the 2026 financial statements in the email. And those of you that are present have it here in hard copy. Just a few highlights is basically our assets are sitting a little over, well, not a little, almost at $31 million. So you will see that go down because we just made about a little over $4 million in payments in March. So, so that's that. On page 4 is where you'll start to see the activity on our agency payments, but just keeping in mind revenue at the top of page 4. We've currently collected 15.4 million. Where, as you can see, that is pretty much what we have projected for the year. The annual budget sitting at 15.7 million. So we've collected a little over 90% of our total budgeted revenue. Going to page 8. We've got 12.2 million in CDs. As you can see, we have 2 CDs that are coming up to mature in April. So I will be visiting with the bank. Since we have a lot of cash right now, looking at how we're going to do some additional CD investments and what that looks like as far as our cash flow, etc. We have enough cash right now to pay all of our bills for 2026. So I will probably leverage that as far as CD investments to take advantage of the interest rates, but also be prepared to award money, and that will be discussed later on. And that is really the highlight. As far as provider payments, we made changes to the categories. And so now we have, this is on page 10, children's treatment centers. So these are all the agencies that we fund that provide a residential treatment. Community-based, these are our more community-based organizations that provide services to families, adults, and children. Our domestic violence shelters are all categorized together. They're either a shelter or MOXA. They provide domestic violence and sexual violence care. We've got our 2 schools. So these are only two two schools that we're funding right now. Families and children, so those are organizations whose primary services is targeted towards family and children. Different from community-based, because that includes adults, individual adult care. And then safety net, these are all of our CCBHCs and safe and FQHC. CCBHC stands for I lost my train of thought.
Certified Community Behavioral Health Center. I got you.
Certified, yes, thank you so much. And FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center, which we have 3 agencies that are both. That is SWOPE, Kansas City Care Clinic, and Samuel Rogers. So all of those, and a bulk of our money goes to those agencies. And then support services are things like BFMA and our contracts with RDI to do the CIT evaluation, and then the extra contract with Rediscover to do the CIT support, administrative support. So that's why it took a little bit to get our financials, because they readjusted everything in those categories. So I hope it's helpful for you all to see that. And then the last highlight is the very last page, 15 and 16. This is a really at a glance view. You can look at any agency and then be able to see over the course of the year all the different types of funding that they may be receiving from us. Some agencies can get their regular fee for service contract, and then they may get a discretionary project like a grant to do a EMR enhancement or something like that. And then they may also receive a prior year performance-based payment, their VBP payment. So again, this is just an at a glance view that you can see what agencies are getting from us. That is the finances.
Okay,
And the audit is starting. So yeah, it's just a lot of work. So Jen is prepping all of our files for the auditor. We'll be meeting with them in person. This year we have a new auditor, so it'll be us getting used to them getting used to us. Jim, the gentleman that has been doing our audit for a long time, will be there to support, but he is retiring, so we're gonna have to train a new auditor, and the auditor will train us.
Same organization.
Same organization doing the audit, so that's a plus, just a new lead person.
Right.
Yeah, so just letting you all know that's started.
Okay, thank you. Dr. E. I see you have
no report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Dr. James.
Value-based payments committee was going to meet this month, but that was delayed. Yes, there's a lot of ongoing cleanup on data. So we'll meet next month and hopefully have a report for next month's board meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Accountability and Compliance Committee, Jessica, and she has no report. Okay, we're all the way through the agenda. Public comments. Are there any public comments? Okay.
I included a thank you letter from Operation Breakthrough. Periodically, we get thank you letters from the agencies, and so we're going to start including those in the board packet so that you all can see them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other comments?
I did want to thank Taryn and Jen for helping University Health very aggressively work through the agency's first modification through PEP. And it was a real back and forth process, and Teresa as well. And they were extremely helpful. And I feel good about the learning experience for us both, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
All right. Thanks.
I also wanted to express my appreciation personally and on behalf of Mackin as well for your support of us through Rediscover.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, I do have one question, CIC. When the calls go into 911, and then an officer is dispatched, how do you know to dispatch a CIT officer?
So when the call first comes in, generally the information we get initially has some indication that there's a behavioral health component to the call. And so when that happens, if a CIT officer is available, they are the one who ends up getting dispatched. But in cases where it's unclear if there may be behavioral health component, once the responding officer gets there, and they determine that they may need the support of a CIT officer, they then would request one to also respond.
Do you think we need more CIT trained officers?
Absolutely, we could always use more CIT training.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. Our next board meeting will be on April 23rd at 5:15, located here. But now we are going to vote to close part of this meeting pursuant to Missouri statutes for closed session. Okay.
Take care.
Board members respond to a closed session by vote. Name and vote.
26Mar Johnson, I move that we go to closed session and I vote yes.
James Walden, I tell yes to proceed to closed session.
Jim Halverson, yes, for the meeting.
Brooke Nasseri, vote yes.
Robin McInerney, yes.
On Zoom,
E.
Chris Beal,
McGee, yes.
Chris Beal, yes.
Marcia Campbell, yes.
Desiree Harry, yes.
Herbie Randolph, yes.
Sandy Giles, yes. We will take about